During the course of this program, you will see intermittent flashes of white on the screen. This cannot be attributed to camera malfunction. The phenomenon was noted on all the cameras. Evidence of the paranormal? Perhaps. Ghost in the machine? Without a doubt.
Hello. You've reached PRS, the Preternatural Research Society. Please leave a message after the beep.
It's 4:42 a.m. PRS gets a call from the distraught owner of an animal rescue shelter. A haunting is agitating the animals and making their lives a living hell. PRS is on the scene the next day.
This is the ultimate question, isn't it? Where are we going? How do you do what you do?
I begin to focus in the center of a dark tunnel.
Somebody is trying to kill me.
And I try to walk down that dark tunnel.
Do you ever feel like there's an entity?
Definite in here, yes.
And when I get there is when I start to see images.
Orbs or spirits of people.
There's a lot of spirits here.
She's possessed.
I don't think he realizes he's dead.
This is not a living room. This is a death place.
We'll all reach that point sooner or later.
Death.
We'd all like to know what was on the other side.
I've never felt this before. God does promise us eternal life. I'm feeling scared, but none of us really know what that is.
I don't want to know the answer.
Each week, the Preternatural Research Society, a seasoned team of renowned psychics and historical researchers, has an urgent mission. Over the course of a 3-day investigation, they must scientifically uncover paranormal threats, remove unwanted spirits, and return a home to its rightful owners.
Everything you are about to see is real. All events take place over the course of a weekend. The investigators have no prior knowledge of the case.
What I got from this family was interesting because it seems that a lot of what's going on might be tied into history. I do want to warn you about one thing, though. They also run an animal rescue out of the house.
Are there any animals here that we need to worry about?
They did say there were some bats in the area. One of the cats and one of the dogs are not the most friendly animals in the world.
Homeowner Bruce guides the PRS van to a discreet parking spot towards the back of the historic property.
We're in Clark, New Jersey, at our house that my wife Nancy and I moved into a little before September 11th.
We moved in to find out that we have company.
Our house, it's like 60 years old, and the barn on the property dates back to the mid-1800s.
PRS has been called to the home of the Keiths, where homeowners Bruce and Nancy run an animal shelter out of their house.
We've taken in baby squirrels, possums, injured geese, raptors.
They have been experiencing paranormal activity for the 5 years they've lived there. However, there's been an upsurge in the intensity of their hauntings since the construction of a new annex for the animals.
This room is going to be what we call the adoption room, and most of the cats, the felines, will stay in here. This will make it easier for us because they'll all be in one room, and it'll be easier for us to do, you know, the cleaning and caring for. That's Bullwinkle. He was in a dog kennel.
Fearing that they are harming the very animals that they are trying so hard to help, they called in PRS to investigate.
Animals are psychics, especially the cats.
They hear things we don't hear, they see things we don't see. That's a scientific fact. Hey, how you doing?
Good. My name's Bruce.
Hi, I'm Jane.
Hi, Jane.
Bruce.
Daryl. Dave. Dave. How are you?
Hi, Farah. How
Hi,
are
Farah.
you?
Nice to meet you guys.
When I first arrived, I certainly could feel a heavy energy around it. I actually feel it more to the property, to the back of the house.
Jane, how are you?
Nice to
It's
meet
a pleasure to have you over. Farah?
Hi, Farah. How are you?
Nice to meet you.
This couple has no fake feelings. They are very true.
If you guys are hungry, I'll get some stuff on the grill.
Manning the grill is Norman, a close friend of the Keiths and a firm non-believer in the paranormal.
I keep going back to Houdini, you know? He's my type of guy. He was a great performer. If anybody could come back, he swore that he would be the first one to come back. Nobody's heard from Houdini in a good long time.
Norman has serious doubts about the validity of this paranormal investigation.
My expectations are nil. What I'd like is what everybody would like. Get some kind of insight into what goes on.
The PRS team gathers first impressions of Bruce, Nancy, non-believer Norm, and their menagerie of rescued animals.
We cannot talk about the ghosts. Let's talk about the animals.
Cats actually have greater hearing range than dogs.
Jane, this is so true. Bruce comes home from work, his pickup truck pulls up the driveway. The dogs are snoring, and the cats will perk up and start meowing by the door.
With the help of her husband Bruce and friend Norm, Nancy has been sheltering abandoned animals for as long as she can remember.
Cats are much easier to take care of, I think.
Bruce is her husband and partner in the animal shelter. He earns his living as an electrician.
Norm, are you related to the family or a friend? Or?
Just a friend sometimes, right?
We met Norman through the animal rescue group.
Daryl Mitzen is an occult specialist and PRS team leader.
So, Norm, I'm going to assume you are not a believer?
My knee-jerk impression is when you say psychic, I think of the carnival.
Norman's challenge to Daryl is immediate.
I'm very skeptical.
Daryl offers Norman an active role in the investigation.
You're welcome to do the walkthroughs with us, spend time analyzing the data, and as much as you're interested in, you know, I'm inviting you basically to be part of the team this weekend, and you'll see everything as it happens, and it'll give you a... We've said that about half the people on the team, but they're still here.
When I began in this field, I was a total skeptic.
Jane Doherty is a published author and is recognized as one of America's top 25 psychics.
As I progressed and opened up my ability, I had a hard time with my self-esteem because I had to compare myself to my peers, which at that time would be your typical gypsy boardwalk psychic.
Now, you.
It's in my family.
Feri Yurdozu is a renowned Turkish psychic, the author of 4 metaphysical books, all bestsellers in her native land.
My grandmother, her sisters, and her brothers, all they were psychics.
Dave Owens is a police detective with 7 years of experience in paranormal investigation.
If I could tell you today what the afterlife holds for me, I'd walk out here satisfied. I lost the father at an early age. I lost the mother, grandfather, had to learn to deal with it somehow. Death was death, and that was all there was to it.
When we die in this life, we born on the other side.
We had a priest over from a local parish, and he even said himself, God does promise us eternal life, but none of us really know what that is.
The first step in the investigation is for team leader Daryl to interview the family about the troubling increase of paranormal activity in their home. To preserve the integrity of their impressions and ensure that they are not influenced, this information is not shared with the psychics.
Dreams.
Paralyzed, being held down or frozen, not being able to move.
A ball bouncing off the wall of the bedroom. Sometimes we hear that.
Slamming, or the smoke detectors are going off, or the phones are ringing at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'll pick up just to check caller ID, only to see all zeros displayed.
Have you captured anything? Audio, video?
Photos.
Okay, and what are they like?
They're what I'm told is orbs, circular lights.
Ectoplasmic vapors, too. We had a few
vapor.
of those.
My group is at odds over whether they are truly, you know, paranormal or they not.
Okay,
Excuse
bug.
me. Was it a bug? I didn't know.
Probably
Something was just hitting my head.
What would you say the most frightening phenomena has been in the house that you've encountered?
Last Christmas Eve, I'm gonna get emotional.
We went to our sister-in-law's house for Christmas dinner, and Nancy, she felt a spirit in our house, and she said she invited the spirit to go with us because she felt like it was lonely. We got there, and she kind of looked strange. I said, Nancy, what's the matter? She says, you know what? I invited a spirit to come with me, and I can feel him here.
I can't do this one. Let me just use the bathroom. Yeah, sure. You know what it is? I should have mentioned Christmas Eve. My friend died that Christmas Eve.
PRS has been called in to investigate strange occurrences in the Keith residence, a home which doubles as an animal shelter. Having interviewed the homeowners, the team begins an exploration of the house and property.
This is my closet.
Daryl begins the site survey at the emotional core of the home, the master bedroom.
Don't take this the wrong way. Is there a lot of activity in your bedroom?
I've never really been approached in here other than in a negative manner.
Whose little bed is this?
That's dancers. And Dancer, the one who really recognizes when something's not right here, she will jump off her toddler bed and come over here, sit here. She usually looks in this direction into an empty space, and she shows her teeth and she growls and barks as though she's protecting me from something.
Next comes the psychic evaluation. Jane Dougherty, former president of the New Jersey Society of Parapsychology, enters the room with team leader Daryl Mitzen.
It's really hurting at this point.
Jane's stomach expands in the presence of spirit energy.
There's a concentration of energy here, around the bed area.
In the face of Norman's pointed criticism of the psychics, Daryl has invited him to join the team for the weekend.
I give him 100% access to everything that we do, and I think involving somebody like that will kind of give us also a chance to understand what we do a little bit better.
And I'm feeling energy, God, it hurts, across this part. Now,
what hurts, Jane?
my stomach.
Your stomach hurts.
I think we're going to get a lot of questions from Norm, and I welcome them.
Norman puts Jane to the test.
You just move back a little bit. Let me get out of its energy. We haven't had somebody challenge us like this, who every step of the way is asking us a question.
Talk to me, Jane. Keep talking to me.
Talk to you?
Keep talking to me.
Okay, can you feel it? You can feel my stomach going out?
Yes, I can.
And yes, I'm in pain. And yes, we're near energy. And yes, I feel something over here. Now I'll let you feel it. Release me. Walk this way. Okay.
I just wanted to see if you could talk while you were doing it.
I knew that's what you were doing. That's all right. I've been through this before. If I'm using my breath to push myself out.
How would you be able to talk?
You satisfied?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Farah senses a powerful energy in the house and is shocked by what she encounters in the master bedroom.
This room has the energy of the dead, especially this part. It's like a morgue. It's freezing. I would like to see this part. In this room, every surface is carrying a very heavy death energy. This is not a living room. This is a death place.
Could you elaborate a little bit more on what you do see?
Here, there are shapeless forms.
Bad energy,
yes,
negative
they are
energy?
floating all around.
Do you feel that somebody had died here, or
More
a
than-
horrible death, or
No, not a horrible. I wouldn't say horrible.
suffering death?
But lots of dead energy. Death. As if I was visiting a graveyard. And I want
Anything
to leave this
this-
room now.
Yes, okay.
I don't want to stay here long.
Norman feels that Farah's reaction is disrespectful of his friends. He follows her to the kitchen and demands that she elaborate on the shapeless entities haunting the bedroom.
I sense that you feel that it's ugly
it's
in
very
there.
uncomfortable because they created their own world, their own nest there. And it's a dark dimension.
Watch your head.
Nancy brings Daryl to the basement, the site of her most terrifying experiences.
The basement is one place in the house that I just never felt safe in. I just feel like it's hard to breathe, like I'm suffocating.
Jane senses a disturbing presence.
Feeling a presence in this area, and it feels male. I felt something like it was right behind me.
I always feel like somebody is following me and right behind me, very close.
Jane uses her psychic abilities to give form to the entity stalking Nancy.
If I try to sense the way he died, it doesn't feel natural. Dark, and I'm having trouble breathing. It feels like I'm suffocating.
Farah's disturbingly similar impressions add even more detail to the emerging scenario.
It's about somebody was dying. It was a man. Somebody ate, drank poison.
And that seems to be the way that he died.
My tongue in my mouth, as if I'm drinking the poison. Horrible. It's a horrible taste.
There's another man arguing. This is a dispute over property.
He is showing me himself in the image of the classical evil. He's not from here. He's from the south.
I see him with a shovel, digging.
If they died on a piece of property and the property then has been divided, that ghost still stays with the original property line.
With Daryl at her side, Nancy visits the site of her first paranormal experience.
This was the first time we recognized activity. It was in the barn. When we first moved in, most of our things went into the barn, and every time I would come out for a box or a Rubbermaid bin, I would feel accosted by someone by being pushed or hair pulling or kicked.
Farah initiates a psychic evaluation of the barn.
I feel something here on my neck. I'm choking. As if somebody is trying to kill me. This is a crime, yes. Crime, 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 crime.
Jane follows.
Beyond these walls, there had to be another building back there.
The similar impressions of the psychics lay the foundations of a compelling puzzle.
Another image, a black man. I am definitely seeing him to be scared.
I started to pick up two young girls, African-American girls. There is a bloodline. Their father, maybe.
I get an aspect up here also of hiding.
Now the girls and he, they are getting closer to each other. And they are in a corner, they are looking at us. They feel defeated because they know that there is nothing that they can do to change their situation. They are fading away. Yes, that's it. I'm done.
Exiting the barn, Farah is assailed by yet more psychic impressions.
Lots of coming and going. At once, there were maybe 15, 20 people here in this place. Health problems. As if somebody was suffering because of a health problem during a long period of time.
Sensing further paranormal activity connected to the barn, she feels compelled to explore the property.
Over here, there is another ghost. This is a man, a kind of caretaker, very much connected to the barn.
We have some history here. There was a caretaker that died of a heart attack in the barn.
The land that the Keith's house is built on was a golf course from 1911 to 1946.
I'm told that his job in life was to take care of the storage shed, and I guess part of that meant not letting people take things out of it. Every time I was walking into the barn, taking something out, he thought I was taking things that didn't belong to me.
Meanwhile, at the back of the property, Jane makes contact with another ghost associated with the barn.
Something is coming around me. That black man that I keep seeing inside also walks the property. He's here, out of breath, running, trying not to be seen, running, running, and running. And finally getting to some place that he felt safe, he's gotten away. To feel that fear in him, I don't think he understands that he doesn't have to run anymore. He still thinks he's being hunted, and that he still is a slave.
Day one of the Keith investigation. The psychics, having completed their walkthroughs, have exposed a complex web of paranormal phenomenon.
Here there are shapeless forms.
Mysterious entities in the morgue-like atmosphere in the master bedroom.
Death.
In the basement, the spirit of an unseen stalker, suffocation, and a taste of poison.
It's a horrible taste.
I'm also getting a black man.
Two young girls.
In the barn, possible refugees from one of America's darkest moments.
That black man that I keep seeing inside also walks the property.
And finally, the spirit of a caretaker who died of a heart attack.
He's taking care of the barn side.
Non-believer Norman, having witnessed the psychic walkthroughs, reports his observations to Daryl.
Any thoughts about seeing this similarity?
I don't believe it to be a coincidence. There's something here. Both psychics described it. I don't believe that they had any correlation of information. I still reserve judgment until later on.
Now that the psychics have completed their tours, the scientific investigation begins. Daryl places surveillance cameras in the basement.
Cam, see what's going on down there now that I just left?
Dave looks for other signs of the paranormal, such as changes in temperature or fluctuations in the electromagnetic field of the house.
I'm pretty well convinced that because of the steady readings that we have, even though they've been on the high side, it's all pretty much man-made.
The first day of the investigation draws to a close. In the basement, the cold electronic eyes of the surveillance cameras watch for the stalking presence to manifest itself. Day two of the investigation, Daryl calls an early morning meeting with PRS researcher Kenny Roginski.
I typed up a bunch of questions that I have for you. Do you think you'll be able to have some answers for me by tonight?
Let me see what I could find out.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks,
Talk
man.
to you later.
As the sun climbs into the summer sky, temperatures in the PRS mobile unit exceed 100 degrees. Daryl moves his operations into the house.
We realized there's some holes that go directly into the basement. What I do is I put this wire down there, and Dave's hooking up a camera. We can A, watch what's going on in the basement, and B, we can record.
Using surveillance equipment, Daryl sends Jane into the basement. He is hoping to trick the ghost into manifesting itself visually.
I know you're present. Tell me who you are. It's very painful on my face. I feel as though it wants me to go into the corner. There's that sensation in my mouth again, very cold. I think that Farrah's right. I think it was poisoning. He wanted something that he had. It's not about property as in land. It's about property as in people. There's a real sharp pulsating pain in my head. I feel very hot, as though I'm in parching sun. Left out there, left to die, buried alive. They thought I was dead. I feel like I've been released and it's left me. So I'm going to come up the steps.
The ghost refuses to materialize.
Maybe the spirit just doesn't want to be caught on film. It basically has played us and shown us that even with all our expensive cameras, if it doesn't want to be seen, it won't be seen.
You see dead kitties?
Bruce sympathizes with Daryl's disappointment. Since they've moved into the house, he too has been trying to document the paranormal activity.
Some mornings I would wake up a little earlier than my alarm clock would go off, and I would grab the camera. If it was a nice clear morning, I would take pictures. Out of the blue, I would get orbs.
There was a series of pictures called orbs.
Sometimes one, two, sometimes multiple pictures of orbs.
I dismissed them as something wrong with the camera, certain conditions, dampness, whatever.
Orbs are spirits of people.
The energy of spirit.
The photographs, once they see them, they question, like, there is something going on here.
People have been saying that they're ghosts.
It can form a ball of light and go across the room.
We really don't know what it is. Is it a ghost, maybe? Is it just some form of energy?
I do not think that it's a ghost at all.
There are some orbs that are simply dust particles.
Little piece of dust ends up in front of the camera lens. You go to take your picture, the flash bounces off this piece of dust.
But there are others that you can see some kind of unusual phenomenon.
The only orb I have is...
Meanwhile, PRS researcher Kenny arrives at the Clark Historical Center to meet with a local historian who sheds light on the background of the Keiths' home.
Hugh Hartshorn Bound. He was good friends with Abraham Lincoln.
Kenny learns about the former owner of the Keiths' property.
Judge Bound was a part of that abolitionist, anti-slavery group that did everything they could, helping black slaves along the freedom trails.
The psychic's impressions begin to mesh with the historical background.
Another image, a black man.
This photo is substation of the Underground Railroad.
There had to be another building back there.
And it was on a part of the Hartshorn estate, and it was used prior to the Civil War for helping escaping slaves up the Freedom Trail. They did go through the back of your property.
Also coming and going. At once, there were maybe 15, 20 people here.
You had escaping slaves all across the property you're looking at on their way to the Freedom Trail. So you're talking 1830s up into the 1850s.
Running, trying not to be seen.
Back at the Keith house, the scientific aspect of the investigation continues. Daryl and Dave attempt to record EVPs, electronic voice phenomenon.
This is your chance to send a message to our side.
Mysterious sounds from beyond the grave caught on recordable media.
All right, the door just unlatched itself. Oh, cat pushed it.
Sammy?
Jane is in the guest room visiting with one of her favorite cats when...
Hello, Sammy.
Sensing the presence of negative energy, Jane summons Farrah for an impromptu mutual trance. She hopes that by combining their psychic abilities, they can solve the deep mystery of the shapeless forms in the bedroom.
Stare into the center of my eyes as I count. 1, 2, keep staring at the center. 9, and 10. I now will put myself into a trance.
Nancy is possessed. She is believing herself to be controlled by some of the spirits around here, and she's not fighting back. She is possessed. She is creating some of the paranormal activities.
I'm seeing faces all coming in.
They are draining her life energy.
This is how Nancy gets plagued.
This is a kind of spiritual vampirism.
She goes out of body when she's sleeping. Entities enter her
spiritual attacks. They are using her compassion and love for the animals.
It is a home for wayward spirits.
She is putting herself in a coffin.
As day 2 of the PRS's investigation of the Keith home draws to a close, Daryl assembles his team for a quick review.
Norm went home for a little while, so I thought maybe we'll give Nancy and Bruce, a little privacy, let them kind of relax in their house for a bit. What I mainly want to talk about is the impressions, the things that we've been picking up, and what Kenny's been able to locate. Seems that some things are matching up.
Well, one of the original owners of the property, Hugh Hartshorn, was quite involved with the anti-slavery movement.
I saw an image of a black man in the barn, scared.
I also picked up the sensation of one black man in the second floor of the barn and 2 young girls, African-American girls.
Farah and I both picked up a poisoned man in the basement, and we felt it had to do with an argument over property. But then when I did my trance state in the basement, I felt then the property in question wasn't about land, but had to do with people.
Strangely enough, this all makes sense, because in 1850, the Fugitive Slave Act enabled slaveholders to cross state lines to come and retrieve their slaves.
So I guess it's possible then that what we were picking up could have been these slave trackers from the south coming to the north in an attempt to retrieve their property, which were these slaves. This leaves the biggest mystery of all, which are these, I guess you call them the darker entities that were in Nancy and Bruce's room.
Well, we may have something there for you, Daryl, because Farah and I entered into a mutual trance.
Right.
The spirits that I picked up in Nancy's bedroom have something to do with their cats.
I saw a lot of faces, and I got news for you, Daryl. They were not faces of humans. They were animal faces.
This is a rescue shelter. I know a lot of animals come through here, and a lot of animals also, unfortunately, die here.
We saw the orb pictures. So don't you think that there is a connection between all those orb pictures and Nancy's cats?
Unfortunately, I don't agree with you on that. I do agree that there probably are animal spirits, but I still believe that the orbs are nothing more than dust.
Though the team remains split on the nature of the orbs, Kenny's historical findings validate many of the psychic's impressions. Daryl presents the scientific evidence found so far.
I took the EVP that you recorded and I put into the computer.
Something.
We're here in the barn.
You read
something room.
So
I
many,
heard something room, it sounds
but
like.
But you could guess forever.
Yeah, that's
right,
true.
You're not really sure. The next one I wanted to show you was one where I wanted to eliminate any noise whatsoever. There was nobody else in the house.
Can you say your name or something for me on this tape?
To me, it's almost like somebody thunked the actual microphone.
Very
so
distinctive.
play it one more time.
Can you say your name or something for me on this tape?
That is a noise that was not present in the room to my ears, and yet it's still on the tape. As of now, this is where we stand. A very low whisper and a knocking noise that shouldn't be there.
Having reviewed the scientific data, Bruce agrees to participate in a completely different type of experiment. He joins Jane and Norman in the basement, where Norman, compelled by his unrelenting thirst for knowledge, puts his skepticism to the ultimate test.
Curious to see if there is another side, and if there is, what it holds for me. What we do on this planet, same thing as what we're going to wind up with, or are we just going to turn the dust and blow away? I got a feeling we're going to turn the dust and blow away. Since we climbed out of the trees and stopped scraping our knuckles, we all wanted this question answered. We'll all reach that point sooner or later. How do you do what you do?
With my eyes closed, I begin to focus in the center of a dark tunnel. And I try to walk down that dark tunnel. And when I get there is when I start to see images.
Can't get past the end of the tunnel.
If you can stay the course, sometimes you get beyond and you can see. Do you feel that cold breeze?
I felt the breeze.
It's almost like it's circling. Here it comes again.
You feel my hair stand on then.
Your hair is standing up.
Yes. I feel like somebody's standing very, very close to me. Very close. I also feel a little lightheaded.
Feel any pains in you?
No.
Just that sensation of pushing?
Pushing forward. Like when you're getting a haircut, they'll push your neck down. That's what that feels like. I'm not.
No, you're not. Are you okay?
Mm-hmm. I'm not afraid. I was afraid before, but I'm not afraid now.
Is there a sound down here?
There's a loud buzzing.
Did you hear that buzzing?
No.
You heard it though, didn't you?
Not buzzing. I can't do this.
But you experienced something here.
What did I experience, though?
You want me to answer that? Or do you want to answer me?
No, I don't. I don't want to know the answer.
Norm is deeply shaken by his close encounter with the paranormal. He is summoned upstairs by Daryl, who is investigating the dark entities infesting the master bedroom.
Norm, do you know this box here? Is this...
What is that?
Yeah.
It's Kitty's ashes.
The cremated remains of a cat on Nancy's bedstand.
I found it interesting that Farrah kept talking about the feeling of death in the room, and especially by the bed.
Actually, when you cremate an animal, if you want their ashes, they'll put it in a box like that. I'm sure Nancy has done this more times than we all like to admit, but that's probably the energy that she felt down there. That's why it was important to us. If they're suffering down there, then we did no good. That's a big issue for us, put it that way.
Keeping the ashes of your pets or your relatives.
And this goes back to
in
the
your
discussion
bedroom?
about good and evil.
It's not a good idea.
That's why I asked you about culmination of all of our lives. And you may have 20 years of torture and torment and 2 good years of happiness. If evil feeds upon negative energy, then there should be something we should be able to do about that.
Farrah counsels Nancy on the issue of the ashes in her bedroom.
How is your sleep here in this room?
Not very comfortable.
When I was checking this room, this area gave me a very cold vibration.
Cold?
Yes. What I found that you are keeping here the ashes of some of your deceased pets.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. In these 2 boxes, do you have more here?
Many.
Where? Under the bed?
Under the headboard. Should I show you?
Oh my God. Do you have your cat's ashes there?
Correct. And dogs. These are previous pets
is
that I've passed on.
I understand your feelings, but spiritually, this is not a good idea to keep their ashes in the headboard. You found the worst place to keep them.
Why is that?
You are keeping and repeating again and again their last pain, their last fear, their horrible emotions, just like loneliness, confusion. This is what you are keeping in your room, under your hat.
They were loved pets?
It doesn't
matter.
matter.
That's why they're here.
Your love didn't give them back their health. They were in pain, they were suffering.
Farrah, that's one of the reasons we have them cremated, is because I just don't have the heart to put them in the ground. Our cats are strictly indoor.
I know, but
so to
believe
put them
me,
outside would not be
keeping them
natural
here,
to us. Yeah.
you are putting yourself in the ground.
Sunday, the 3rd and final day of PRS's investigation of the Keith haunting. Bruce and Nancy attend to the daily routine of running their animal rescue shelter.
Are you wide awake? Just watch his tongue. There we go. See?
That's all right. How's that, buddy?
Behind the barn, the team meets in the PRS mobile lab.
There's a lot of history on this land. There's a lot of spirits here. I want to make sure that we concentrate on which spirits are the most active, which spirits are rarely affecting the family. The man in the barn, obviously the black man had a lot of emotion to him, and the man in the basement. Right, the main character is exactly the phrase.
Norman is concerned about his good friend Nancy. He feels she is adversely affected by the intense negative energy generated by the ashes of the cremated animals she keeps in her headboard.
I know that what Nancy does or what she's doing is wrong, but I'd also like you guys to help her.
We have to let them know, spiritually and humanly, they have to love themselves too. because they are not taking care of their lives.
What I came in here with, I thought was an open mind, really wasn't. I had a preconceived notion of what a psychic was. I'm not as skeptical as I once was. If we could let it go at that, I'd appreciate it. I really would.
The remnants of Norm's skepticism are about to be put to the test. The group assembles for a seance, an intense communion of the living and the dead, in which the trapped spirits of the deceased may travel through the bodies of the living to finally escape from this world to find peace in the next.
I surround myself in a bubble of white light.
I surround myself in a bubble of white light.
And nothing negative could ever penetrate it.
The cameras malfunction. Nancy senses a sinister presence.
The hair on my arms are raised.
There's something there around you.
It's strong.
Okay.
That was strong. I've never felt this before.
For a woman devoted to the saving of lives, the taking of one is unfathomable.
It's okay.
Norm, your right hand is twitchy.
I'm certainly not doing it.
His hand is like twitching.
Feeling anything else around you?
Coolness.
Coolness.
Norman begins to experience the last moments of the abolitionist. Through his body, the conflicts of the dead are relived.
Any kind of physical pain to identify a symptom?
Neck. Back of my neck. Tight.
Tight?
Tight.
He is assaulted by the slave tracker.
Do you sense like it wants to push you down?
He survives.
I feel like I have to cry.
Drinks the poison. Descends into the basement to release a hidden slave from a secret crawl space. The poison takes him.
The man in the cellar.
A suffocating slave waits to be released.
He's still. He's just still.
A release that will never happen.
It feels like it's bouncing back and forth here. Or we have two at the same time.
Norman experiences the death of the abolitionist.
All right, so you're seeing him lying down.
It's dirt. He's
Blood or anything like this?
He's laying in dirt.
Very dark.
It's dark.
Very dark.
The culmination of Norman's psychic quest is at hand. For a brief moment, the seance transports him to the land of the dead.
Being in total darkness.
You're experiencing this man's death.
Yeah, empty space, like void. There's nothing there anymore.
That's death.
Strange sensation.
Oh.
Another spirit enters the circle.
I'm feeling this is the black man.
I just pictured that myself. He's behind me. He's a big guy.
And try to figure out how he died.
He's watching, though.
I can see him hiding.
And he's looking at all of us.
He's afraid.
He just looked at Daryl. I'm feeling scared.
I'm gonna need you.
Having to be quiet. Oh, I had to be quiet. He couldn't say that he couldn't breathe because he had to be quiet. Couldn't be found out. I don't think he realizes that he's dead and he has nothing to fear. He needs to know that he is no longer enslaved. I try to release him.
Through intense concentration and sheer force of will, Jane channels the spirit of the suffocated slave and directs him towards the light.
Simply project to him to let him know he's free.
During the seance, we release two spirits. The first spirit was released through Norm, and this was the spirit, apparently, of an abolitionist. It seems to be that he had had a slave hidden in a crawl space within his basement, and he had been going down there in an attempt to free the slave, but he had been poisoned by one of the slave trackers, and unfortunately, the poison overtook him before he was able to release the slave, and this is where he died.
The second one was the slave who came through me in the seance. He suffocated somewhere on the property. We don't know where, in a crawl space. And I hope at this point that he is reunited with his two girls.
I said a prayer for him to meet up with his family and his children if he had any, to be at peace, and I'm hoping he will be.
They were perhaps the most trying times this country has endured. A time of deadly convictions and desperate acts. History would prefer to keep its secrets buried, but the ghosts of time will always whisper, and in the world of the paranormal, there will always be someone to listen. Having freed 2 lost souls, PRS now turns to a spirit of the living.
We're glad that you have the urns and you want to memorialize your deceased animals, and I understand you might not want to bury them, and that's a choice that I can easily respect. However, I think hidden away it doesn't do them justice, and it's creating this negative energy that might be giving you some bad times in this room. And I think we should set everything up in another room, and you had said the living room?
Perfect.
Is a good idea for you? Okay, so if you don't mind, if we can pull them out.
Sure. Yeah, I'm gonna try not to look at the names so I don't cry. Each one is a very special memory in our hearts.
I'll grab the Tupperwares. Oops. One more Tupperware for me?
Nancy, I'm going to take this moment to burn some white sage. It's a very sacred herb to a lot of cultures, including Native Americans when they're here in New Jersey. And it's meant to purify energy, uplift people, and our prayers will travel through the smoke as we burn it.
Daryl and Jane perform a cleansing ceremony.
We just ask that the smoke carries our prayers and brings our good wishes.
And we also ask for any of the abuse that they may have had, that's also released, and that they only remember the love that they received. Just like to close your eyes for a moment. We ask that God's presence be with us and all the animals of the house that are living and all the animals that are now in front of us that have been deceased. We ask and thank God for the love that we have received from all of these animals, living and deceased, and for the joys that we've had in loving them. We ask for their souls to also be at peace, for we know that when all of us get there, those that have had pets and have loved them, they will be reunited with them. Our animals serve a great purpose for mankind. It is what teaches us how to love unconditionally, because they give us unconditional love. Thank you.
With the investigation complete and a home at peace, PRS says their goodbyes.
I'm just overwhelmed right now. It was a lot to absorb. We'll be in touch.
Take care, okay?
This weekend was a test for everyone. It was a test for psychics for me. It was a test for myself. Did I see it? No. Did I have confirmation for myself? Yes.
It was a big pleasure. We opened the doors. The rest is up to them. It was a pleasure.
Oh, thank you.
I know what Jane talks about. I know why Jane talks about it. It's not a parlor game or a trick or anything else. It deals with spirituality.
He was here to help his friends.
For me, I'm a better person walking out here. I've helped somebody too, and in turn helped myself. It's the way it works.
Since the weekend, what's unusual is it was kind of very quiet here. I'm sleeping through the night. We gave in to removing the cremation remains of our previous pets, and we did bring them into the living room. My only point of this is always, they were never outside cats. They were taken in as rescue from outdoor dangerous situations, and we brought them into our home, and they were provided with love, and we gave a lot of care and concern to them. They'll be moving outside when I feel comfortable enough.
I think the animals seem a little more relaxed. We have some that live in the basement. Every now and then they get a little agitated down there. And the one time we did notice that they were very agitated, and we snapped quite a few pictures, and we did get orbs in there.
What happened that weekend? Both the women that were here blew me kind of out of the water about what a psychic really is. There's just too many things that went on for me not to believe in something else. Downstairs, and what I found out about myself down there,
I don't want to know the answer.
that was probably the most I got out of this weekend. Do I believe in something else besides death and nothing? Yes, I do. Whatever was here, whether it be the cleansing or seance, you call it what you want to call it, you know? And I'll just say that whatever is here now is a lot better than what we started with.